I don't really know why I'm writing this. I think it's because I've tried to explain it to my uncle, but all he said is that I should get my addiction under control and stop forgetting to take my meds. I think my aunt's absence is weighing on him more than he'd ever admit. I can't blame him about not believing me. You see, I have a history. I've lost it in the past. Twice actually. I'm not here to talk about it, but I think it's important to lay this down first, so you can understand. I've been told something's wrong with my brain. Maybe I was born this way. Maybe I've been through too much. That my mother was an addict. She'd cut ties with our family for 10 years when she had me. That where she had been and who my father was very unclear. She was part of a community in the forgotten part of the nearest big city when she died. I was there when it happened. My Uncle Sean and Aunt Maggie became my guardians just before my 5th birthday, and I'm still with him 20 years later. Maggie left the ranch a few weeks ago after an amicable divorce. I never understood why they were together anyway. She was always working somewhere, traveling a lot. I was closer to him and his sturdy way of life. When I first arrived at the ranch, I was in a bad shape. I got better thanks to him. But when I reached 13, all the memories from my early childhood suddenly came back. I started having flashbacks. My memories came back, but they came back wrong. I had been told that my mother had died of an overdose. Yet in my dreams, I saw her again and again in a pool of blood. And then it came. The thing. I won't describe it. It kind of triggers something in me that I really don't need right now. I've been told that what happened next was so traumatic that my brain made up a monster of fiction to make sense of what I was seeing and not processing. This thing started obsessing me. And during my early teenage years, I focused all my energy on finding what it was and proving it happened. That a monster did kill and mutilated my mother. My nightmares were so bad that I stopped sleeping. I drank so much energy drinks that I ended up in the hospital twice with severe dehydration. Thankfully, I got better. I started working more and more with my uncle's horses. I think it's why he employed me. He saw how manual work and caring for the animals helped. I even got my first girlfriend around my 17th year. I was prom king, who would have thought? But then, she had a cheerleading accident in front of me, and I lost it again. I won't go into details, but she broke her neck during halftime, and once again, the way she fell, folded and screamed. I couldn't process. It had shapeshifted to get to her. I'm ashamed of it, but I became violent, looking for it frantically, screaming nonsense, and talking made-up words. I had to be sedated. She made it alive, but she never wanted to see me again. I was accused by pretty much everyone to make the accident all about myself, and they were kind of right. Now you know how I came to be the crazy guy. I have a bit of a drinking problem too, to be honest. You see, I never went back to high school. I started working full-time at the ranch when I came by, and sometimes it gets lonely. It's not rare to find me passed out in the hay in the early morning in the summer. And what can I tell you? I know I shouldn't. I know it's bad, but I love those nights. I put music, cuddle with my dog, and just look at the cold bright stars, drinking beer, until they start spinning. It's because of this bad habit that I realized something was wrong with the horses. You see, contrary to the movies, horses are pretty silent. They don't neigh unless you separate them from their best mate or bring food. And that night, the night it all started, they wouldn't stop. I could hear them galloping and snorting. I wondered if there was a stray dog, but they were used to dogs. I was a bit worried. Horses get stupid when they are afraid. And we had a big show coming. It wasn't the time, so sprain a leg. What really troubled me was my dog. He seemed weird. Max was a pit mix my uncle had rescued when I was 15. He only woke when I got up and walked a bit to look at the paddocks. That's when I realized the moon behind me. It was huge and red. I wondered if I had ever seen it so close and so red before. I looked at Max. The white of his eyes showed, and he started whining. I had never heard him make this noise, ever. I looked at my phone. It was 2:45. I took a pitchfork to be safe and walked toward the clubhouse. We kept a shotgun there in a locker. The horses kept going crazy, and Max's tail was stiff. I was walking fast, but carefully in the darkness, when the music reached me. A chant, a low chant. I kind of felt it too, like a vibration. It was coming from the yearlings field near the forest patch on the opposite direction of the clubhouse. My horse was in this field. I backtracked immediately and rushed toward the sound as I dialed my uncle. Of course, he didn't answer. He didn't live on the property anymore, but a few miles away. I left a message, whispering, "I'm at the stable, something weird is happening. I think there are people messing with horses. I'm going to see. I think you should come. I don't know. Call me back." The weird chant buzzed in the background, louder, as if more people had joined. I saw the glow of the fire. Before I passed the last building, it rose, under the bloody moonlight. Dark figures circled around it. Slowly, the horses seemed to have retreated at the other end of the pasture, and I was relieved, until I saw it, the figure at the center of this dark carousel. What the F are those creeps doing escaped my lips. A blazing fury filled me, like a white iron, like a white hot blade blinding me. "Hey," I screamed at the top of my lungs. "What are you doing?" The figure stopped and turned toward me. I was running now, my knuckles going white around the pitchfork stick. Max was growling, a deep growl, his hair high upon his backbone. The figure, still pretty far, did not move. I could see their heavy hooded cloaks. "What kind of sick pricks are those?" I muttered. "Hey," I screamed again, louder than I ever thought I could scream. And then I saw him. Gun. Gun was my uncle's favorite horse, his old stallion's spitting image. The young horse was lying in front of the fire, behind the intruders. "What did you do?" "I'm calling the cops." I stopped and was dialing when a figure detached itself from the group and advanced. It seemed to float. It moved toward Max and I, so silently. The burning rage in my veins turned cold and heavy. I opened my mouth, but nothing crossed my lips. Suddenly, Max jumped. He growled in a way I hoped to never hear any dog do again. A desperate, furious growl, a life or death sound, a war cry, as warm blood spattered on my face. Hey, honestly, I don't know what happened at that moment. Something lied bloody on the ground, but I couldn't even have tell that it used to be a dog, even less Max. Acid tears filled my eyes as I realized my mouth was still open. I was tasting him. I wanted to scream, to run, to just get swallowed by the earth. And yet I did nothing at all but stare at the floating silhouette. It was so tall. "Come, my child. We were waiting for you. We knew you'd come. Your father told us you'd be here when we'd call." I heard those words, but I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about the thing who spoke them. I say thing because it didn't have a voice. It buzzed like a cello. Suddenly, I floated too. Panic seized me. Like a trapped raccoon in my chest, it dug its claws, scratching furiously my closed throat. "Your father said you were ready. We will prepare you." I was now in front of the crackling blaze. The other figures circling me, smiling men and women welcomed me. On their faces they all wore a similar mark, a cross covering their eyes horizontally and their nose and mouth vertically. Their hands were still dripping with guns inside. Gun was opened. "A necessary sacrifice," whispered a woman, still smiling. "I know you liked him very much. I'm sorry. I could have taken yours, but I knew you wouldn't have forgiven me." Her voice, "Aunt Maggie," I croaked. Her eyes shone with a mad light. "Gosh, do you look like your mother tonight. She'd be so proud. Her baby boy." The tall figure made a gesture, and I spun and found myself looking at the sky. I thought I'd fallen, but I wasn't touching the ground. My aunt continued speaking. "She was just like you the first time. So naive, so afraid. She was only 16. That was our mistake, you see. She wasn't ready for her destiny yet when she joined us. That's why we waited for you." The chant, the low buzzing chant, rose once again. The people around me started walking in a circle around me. I was just above Gun's body. One by one, they buried their hands in the belly of the horse and traced the cross on my face. I sealed my lips as tight as I could as the warm blood covered my face. Through the blood and tears, I recognized faces. A nurse from the hospital, a teacher, the coffee shop barista, my psychiatrist. I closed my eyes. It was a nightmare. It couldn't be anything but a nightmare. Yet the smell of the horses inside and the crackling fire still reached me as they started ripping my clothes off. "This is not real," I whispered. "This is not real. This is not real. This is not real," I screamed weakly. "Oh, my dear, I'm so sorry," whispered my aunt. "I should have told you earlier, but Dr. Carter said it was better to let you grow up a bit first. He said it'd help you keep the secrets if you were afraid of them. I'm sure you don't feel this way, but it was an honor to watch your mother ascend the way she did. Her agony was the most beautiful thing she could have hoped for. You were supposed to ascend with her, but she ruined it." Slut groaned a middle-aged woman before spitting on the floor. "She was my best friend, you know. I thought I knew her. I thought I could trust her, but she lied to me. You see, we know you are his son, but she wasn't a virgin when she was honored." She smiled. "It doesn't matter how cruelly she tricked us. You can help us find the perfect girl." One by one, each member traced a bloody cross on my skin. "You're so handsome." He'll be so glad. The perfect boy, the perfect vessel, whispered Aunt Maggie. It's almost time. Prepare, hissed the tall figure. You're going to give him his heir, the one ruler among the realms. You see, he can't travel here whenever, but you're an anchor, my love. Each generation he chooses an anchor until he finds one who will give him the sun, the one who will die for his freedom. Our freedom, Maggie continued. Lower, quiet slave. And Meal, shrieked the tall figure. She kneeled right near me and breathed her. I heard a slash. Aunt Maggie's face slid horizontally. Her eyes followed me as the upper part of the face slid slowly toward the ground. Hail the prince. A chant, colder and louder than never before, rose with the crackling flames toward the moon. Aya, Shub Nigurath, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, chanted the disciples. Frozen, I watched the blazing sky above and saw a door, a perfect wooden door in the sky. It slowly cracked open as the crowd turned to hysterics, and the chant turned to mad screams. My son, the whole earth seemed to split open under the weight of the sound coming from the perfect rectangle of empty darkness in the sky. And then, I saw what I had tried to forget for 20 years. I saw those split red eyes and their evil glare. I saw the iron hooves at the end of too many legs. I saw the tentacles who flayed my mother with their 1,000 beaks. Everything all at once. I saw it shift from an odious form to a more loathsome one. I burned in a way I'll never be able to describe. The tentacle reached. They crossed this unholy door. I woke up 2 weeks ago in the nearest hospital. I was found on the ground, surrounded by the yearlings, the corpse of Gun, and some remains of Max. My uncle explained to me that I had found a bear feasting on Gun, that Max must have attacked it, and I'd fainted or been knocked out trying to scare it away. Laying lifeless had saved me. I didn't tell him right away at the hospital what happened. I would have, but you see, when I woke up, she was there. The nurse, the one I had recognized. Dr. Carter, Miss Thompson, my primary school teacher. They were all around me, holding hands, and they smiled. They showed me the sign, the cross on my chest surrounding by the 4 secret signs left by my father. I've tried to explain to my uncle that Aunt Maggie would never come back. Why Gun had to die too. I think he deserved to know. I'm sorry to leave him, but I've got to go now. I thought he could handle the truth. You know, that I had never been crazy, and that I shouldn't have been afraid, that everything was going to be okay from now, because I know now that I'm blessed. You see, he thinks I'm just having another episode, that it's a manic episode, or something, and I should go back to the clinic. But Dr. Carter is by my sides now. I am special, I am, and he can be too. Anyway, he'll be, whether he joins or not. He'll all be, because he is coming. He'll bless us all, because you see, I know I can find her, and I'll give him the perfect door, a door to let him in, a door to let all of him in this time. He'll honor us all at once. Aya, Shub Nigurath, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young,